This is the new for 2025 Triumph Bobber TFC, an up-spec version of their standard bobber with an extra special finish, a limited edition run, and the best possible componentry. So can it possibly be worth the extra over the standard bike? And is this pretty much the ultimate Bonneville that you can currently buy? Well, in this video, we'll go through all of the details to find out. But before we get started, a massive thanks to Calimoto for supporting the channel and sponsoring this video. Calimoto use their own dedicated motorcycle-specific algorithm to find the best biking roads near you, so you never have to ride a dull one again. We love using their app for finding routes in new, unfamiliar places, like if you're on a tour, but it's also a great tool for mixing up your local routes and finding new combinations. So do check out the link down in the description to find out more, and down there you'll also find a code for a free trial and a code for a discount if you do decide to take out one of their premium memberships. So once again, a massive thanks to Calimoto for their support and for making videos like this one possible. Now, TFC for the uninitiated stands for Triumph Factory Custom, and it was started a number of years back with a bit of a build-off between two groups of the Triumph designers and engineers. They made a couple of customs, a bobber and I think a scrambler, based upon the old air-cooled Bonneville platform, and from there they went on to produce a whole bunch of bikes, including some of these limited editions, starting with the Rocket 3. Now, they also previously made a bobber TFC and then a Thruxton TFC, and so you could see this as the fourth bike in the line of TFC production models. So look, we'll start with the engine, and this is the 1200 high torque variant of the Bonneville Parallel Twin. And there isn't anything specifically massively different about this one, with the same peak power figure of 77 horses and also 106 Newton meters of peak torque. So look, especially with regards to torque, it was already pretty healthy, and the only tweak they have made is a slight change to the tune, which pulls those peak figures a little bit lower in the rev range. Where it does get something a little bit special though is with the exhaust system, because as you can see, you've got a pair of Akropovich silencers with a bit of a slash cut design to the end of them. Now, Triumph announced a year or two back that they were starting to partner with Akropovich to produce some official accessory exhausts. And I will say, with Akropovich being one of the best in the business, it really does add to the looks. I love this carbon finisher at the end here, the black body on it with a bit of a logo, and then also another finisher where the silencer meets the headers, you know, it all ties together to just give the bike a little bit of a visual lift. Now, I don't believe there are any particular performance benefits, although potentially it could be a little bit lighter. And while I can't start the bike to give you a sound check today, one would assume it's going to sound a little fuller as well. Now, at the front end here, we've also got some really nice upgrades, including this fully adjustable Öhlins upside down fork, which replaces the standard right way up fork that's non-adjustable on the standard bobber. Not only does it look the business with the sort of black and gold finish, but also you'd be expecting a really significant improvement in ride quality, and it's matched at the rear by a fully adjustable Öhlins shock. That's a little bit more subdued in finish, it's just entirely black, but again, you've got the full adjustability, hopefully better ride quality, and also when you see it up close, it does have a bit more visual finesse than the more affordable shock on the standard bike. Now, you might also notice that we've got a 19-inch front wheel on this bike, and that's as opposed to the 16-incher with the big fat bobber tyre on the standard Triumph bobber. Interestingly though, the first generation of the Triumph bobber had a 19-incher like this, and it was only after the introduction of the bobber black with the chunkier front wheel that they then rolled that out effectively to all the bobber models. So yeah, interesting to see them go back to this one, but potentially might feel a little bit lighter in terms of the handling, and it also means they can fit it with Metzeler Roadtech 01s, because this is effectively an adventure bike size of tyre as opposed to something cruiser specific like the Cruise Tech, so we might get slightly better grip and tyre performance here as well. Then you've also got Brembo M50 calipers up front, so very sporty, radially mounted monoblock construction, mated to a radial master cylinder which is both span and ratio adjustable, and so really this is the sort of braking setup that you'd expect to find on like the top tier Speed Twin 1200 RS as opposed to something low and lazy like a bobber. The other thing that might contribute to slightly better handling as well is a fairly significant weight saving over the standard bike, and you can probably put that down to quite a few factors like the slimmer front wheels, some of the carbon bodywork, potentially that exhaust system as well. And so yeah, with better brakes, better suspension, that slimmer front wheel, less weight, the power shifted a few hundred RPM down as well, potentially a better sound. This TFC model does promise to be quite significantly better to ride than the standard bike. Now, one of the things I always found quite interesting about the previous Bobber TFC was the fact that they decided to switch the flat bars for much more sporty looking clip-ons. I don't think I've ever had a chance to sit on one of those, but I always thought it was a bit of a juxtaposition against the rest of the riding position, which is of course being a sort of cruiser style bike, quite low in the seat and obviously fairly far forward with the pegs. But I will say, sitting on it now and having ridden the standard bike, it does actually feel surprisingly comfortable, and maybe that's specific to my bodily dimensions at about 175 centimeters and 5'9", so not particularly tall, but it does feel much more natural than I expected, and actually like I could really quite get on with it. It is also worth adding, like the standard bike, that there is a bit of adjustability with the saddle, so it can go back and forth and up and down a bit. And so if you don't find it immediately comfortable when you sit on this bike, that is worth having to play around with to see if you can get it dialed. Now up in the cockpit here, the keener-eyed viewers amongst you might notice that there's a different face on the single analog dash here, so it's a TFC specific design. And also you've got this beautiful billet top yoke, which of course enables it to be fitted with those clip-ons, but they've really made a feature out of it, and it does look pretty fantastic with the gold adjusters on the fork caps there. You've got the limited number and a TFC badge, and it really does make for quite the view when you're actually sat on board the bike. Also in the sort of tech department, they have added a sport riding mode, and so naturally that quickens up the throttle response, which is going to give you more of that sporty feeling that perhaps suits the chassis of this bike more so than the standard Bobber. So I think definitely some nice practical and performance upgrades on this bike, but the other thing that Triumph do with the TFCs is turn the sort of visuals and the quality of the finish up to 11 with all sorts of bits dotted around the bike. The thing that really stands out is this paint job with this sort of marble effect gold strap across the tank that really does contrast nicely against this metallic black base coat, and you've also got a Bobber TFC logo on the tank there, which does help a little to tie the whole thing together. I also like these carbon side panels with the TFC badge, and it continues that stripe down the side there. But there are some nice other little details when you really start to look, like the gold or bronze finish on the lever clamps up in the cockpit. There's a bit of embroidery here on the saddle, but it's in black, so it's really quite subtle. And also the engine badges are specific to the TFC model. Neatening things up at both ends as well, you've got the premium LED indicators, and they're integrated with the tail lights at the back, so it really does look very nice and clean. Plus, you got a gold chain as well, which ties in with the whole TFC theme, and of course is worth another 10 horsepower. Now, like you'll have seen on the limited edition number on the top yoke there, just 750 of these bikes will be made available worldwide. And while you can expect to pay quite a premium over the standard Bobber, I think it's easy to see that there's a lot of work gone into this, with lots of special componentry and also a finish which is really quite elevated above that base bike. As always though, I'd love to know what you think of it, so do let me know down in the comments below. And also, I'll put my review of the standard Bobber on the screen now, so you can give it a click and give it a watch in case you haven't already. Also, do hit subscribe if you want to see all of the latest motorcycle news like this right here on MOTOBOB. And massive thanks for watching today, and we'll see you in the next video.